What's up, bro?
Yes, happy belated birthday, my brother.
Thanks, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying the safe home, safe quarantine, however you want to call it, and just taking it easy, man. Can't complain. Not gonna complain. There's no reason because at the end of the day, I told myself we're all in the same boat, and oh crap, for me to complain about, you know, some of these stuff that I see people are complaining about, I'm just like. Come on, folks. Like, you're not the only one that, whatever it's, can't go to the gym or whatsoever. Like, we all are. One second, let me hook this up. We're all making do with whatever we have. And, taking, a bad situation into, okay, that's not going to work. Here we go. Trying to charge my phone at the same time and talk to you because all of a sudden it says less than 10%. Here we go. That's not good. This is going to be fun. What's going on with you, man? How's your gym coming?
It's going good, man. I've spent like 10 grand on that thing now.
I saw that. I was like, okay, I was talking to Ronnie today. It's funny. I called Ronnie up and he's like, you know what, Shawn, when I built this gym in the back of my house, I wasn't expecting it was going to be my full-time gym. But it's like, he's so thankful that he spent all that money to build that gym because the gym is actually worth more than his house. And it's just been sitting, he's going to, Metroflex to train. He was just like, you know what? He's like, I may never go back to Metroflex to train. He's like, I might just, train full-time at my house now and not leave the house to go anywhere to train. And I'm just like, man, I wish I had that, because when I trained at his house before, I was astonished. I was just like, I can't believe you ever leave your house to go anywhere. Like,
yeah,
there's stuff that you have here that are no longer in gyms, and everything is sitting there for you to utilize it. Up to I think like 180-pound dumbbells, 200-pound dumbbells, like 3 or 4 treadmills, step mills, danky calf raise, like. So many stuff that I was so impressed that we trained here a couple of days, and I was just like, this is great, So what's next for you, man?
I don't know, man. Hopefully 1 million subscribers.
How much you at right now?
855.
Damn.
So where you been working out at?
I want to say my house, but nobody would believe me. Now I'm gonna be honest, man. I have a friend of mine that is not too far from my house. And, he opens up a couple of days for me to go in and train. He's like, hey, listen, you know what? And he's been doing this even before this whole quarantine thing. It's more like a private gym that he has with just a few clients, but it's made for it to be a huge gym. And he does a lot of online coaching. So he basically was like, listen, you know what? We're friends. I'll open up, 2 or 3 days a week. You want to come in and train? And I've been doing this probably 10 weeks now.
Okay.
Being able to go in and get something done and work on the stuff that as if I need to work on. And it's been paying off. It's been paying off, because I'm able to work on the stuff that I've never done before. And I'm loving it, I'm loving it. So what's your thought on Olympia moving to December?
I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I think on one hand, all these people are going to be traveling, for the holidays. So they're going to go to the Olympia, and if they get exposed to the virus, they're going to be coming straight home to their family with whatever they get exposed to, if this is still around. On the other hand, I can see why they would push it back as far as they possibly could. So you get time to, if they have to cancel it, at least they would have till the end of the year.
Yeah, I think, I think anyone and everyone would be thinking the same too. Like, if you're going to do it, yes, have it be in December. So at least there's enough time where people could get back to just life.
Yeah.
Just life in general. People could get back to, their livelihood. And, if it's not possible for the gathering of the sort, there's enough time to say, hey, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. You
Um,
think you're going to be able to compete?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Um,
It gives you more time.
um, uh, I'll be at the Olympia.
On the stage.
I will be at the Olympia. I'm going to put it that way. And I'm going to be training to compete at the Olympia. And that's what I've been doing because, I'm going through, the Drew process and I'm being positive about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm like, hey, you know what? My mindset is whether the Olympia was going to be in September or December, I'm training for it. And the next time I step on stage will be the best version of myself.
How much size do you think you put on in the off season? All the cookies and donuts and shit.
Nick, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I talk to Chris every day, and he's energized because he's like, Shawn, I've never seen this version of you in the off season. And to hear him saying, I've been working with him since 2012. To hear those words out of his mouth, it's just kind of like, okay, in 2018 when I started my Olympia pride, I was only 258.
What are you, 280 right now?
I'm about 285, 287.
Wow. So what's your goal? How big are you trying to get?
At first, my goal was, to be honest, to get to 300.
Okay.
And somewhere along the way, I kind of took the number away and just, start telling myself, okay, just don't worry about what the scales say. Just focus on doing the stuff that you've never done. Like I can tell you how many times I've done rack pulls, prior to this year. I can tell you how many times I've ever done like deadlifts. I can tell you how many times I've done like heavy, like barbell row, like just the basic movement.
Yeah.
I can tell you how many times I've gone to the gym and trained consistently with just barbells and dumbbells. And, that's been my focus since maybe December, January, where it's just been like, I'm training. Like, don't worry about what the scales say. If I want the weight to go up, I know exactly what I need to do to let the scale balloon up. But at the end of the day, the number on the scale, as Chris always said to me, it doesn't matter. Like, I've seen guys get up to 300 pounds and then they step on the scale, showtime, and it's like they lose a whole person. And I'm like, what was the purpose of putting on all that weight? So for me right now is how hard can I get at this weight and not lose any weight? I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes sense. So if not the Olympia, what show would you be setting your sights on?
I'm only setting my sight in Olympia right now. I can't even lie about it. Like, the mindset for me is I want to walk out and stage at the Olympia with the expectation of whomever, whether it's in the audience, live stream, or whatever it is, that you should be caught in between, do I clap or do I watch?
That's a good way to put it.
That's the kind of mentality that, I've been telling myself, like, don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about who's competing. Walking out on stage at the Olympia again will be like, holy shit, like what just happened?
And I've read the comments, man. People want to see you back. I mean, it's all I see anytime I mention your name in a video. Everyone wants to see you. I
appreciate it. You know what, man? I appreciate it because, I see someone that made a comment and you're like, listen, you know what, man? I appreciate Shawn because, he signed my magazine. He was, one of the guys that's, all this stuff. I remember when you reached out to me about, the cop from that was shot and he was in the hospital. He was like, hey, can you do a video? And I was like, no problem.
Yep.
I was like, I'll do that right away because I understand, like, the fans that we have, sometimes I think these guys get lost in not appreciating, like, hey, listen, if it wasn't for the fan, we'll be nobody. We'd be just a bunch of people lifting weights,
That's true.
with nobody for us to be inspired, motivated. It would just be that guy, oh yeah, I know, he goes to the gym. And I think a lot of these guys, when they get to a certain point, they forget that at one point or another, they were like, man, I hope somebody recognizes me when I go somewhere. Like, I hope somebody cheer for me when I walk out on the stage. And, you know, then they get to a certain point and it's like they feel as if they're bigger than everybody else. Like they create themselves. And for me, like, I appreciate every fan that ever comes up to me and I don't care if it's a hi or hello or whatever it is. I know sometimes I talk to people and my conversation end up being a lot longer than it should be, you know, because I just go on and on. But I know the day's going to come when I'm no longer going to be doing this, and I'm going to be looking back and saying, you know what, man? One, I had a good time, and two, not one person's ever going to say that they met me and I was an ass.
Yeah.
You know, that goes a long way for me. And you never know, like when you walk away from talking to someone, you never know what you might have said that made their day. You never know what you could have said that inspired them. And I think a lot of people, you know, like I saw a text message that you sent about Luke. And it's funny because I spoke to him on my birthday. And I've always talked to Luke. You know, I've always, you know, just whatever it is, I've always taken time and just had conversations with him and never mentioned it to anyone. It's just me and him going back and forth and DMs just talking. And, you know, at the end of the day, you never know what someone is going through. And you could say 2 words to them that make their day. And I think people sometimes just forget that much. And, you know, I always want, I mean, it sounds weird, but I always want people to leave, you know, from talking to me and feeling like, fuck, you know what, I'm glad I went into Shawn today. You know, it doesn't matter.
That's the exact experience I had with Luke, too. I mean, I doubt he knew how much that impacted me, the things that we talked about. But that's the legacy he left, and that's the impression he left on me. I doubt he had any idea how big of a deal it was to me, some of the conversations that me and him had. It's just, it's sad.
Yeah, listen, my entire day, you know, I'm not even going to lie. Like, guy called me in the morning, you know, it's just Arena, and he's like talking to me, and I'm just kind of like, what? Like, it was, for me, it was just so surreal, like having a conversation with Guy, and Guy is like bawling, and I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, like, for me, this is the juggernaut with the biggest heart possible that was always laughing and smiling, you know? And then I'm listening to, you know, Guy trying to tell me what happened, but it just wasn't registering. It was just kind of like, what do you mean? You know, like, you know, there's like, why, when? Like, you know,
I couldn't believe it when I saw people posting about it. I was like, this has got to be some kind of sick, like, joke or something.
Honestly, I thought it was a joke because I went in line and was looking right away and I saw nothing. And I was like, okay, this has to be a joke. This is a hoax. Like, who would play such a like freaking childish game? Like, you know, because I'm like this, I didn't want to believe it. And then all of a sudden it was like, everybody started talking about it. I was like, oh shit. You know, so I was like, that day was just, it was a little bit rough. And, you know, we drove and went to see my daughter and just, we hang out on the beach. And for me, that was like refreshing, just trying not to think about it and just be like, you know what, just enjoy this moment right now. Because at the end of the day, you just never know. And, you know, but it's a sad times. It's very sad, you know, especially for somebody that you know and somebody that you call a friend, you know. And, you know, I think that people understand that the impact that's going to have in a lot of people's life, you know, because he was a good dude with, you know, such a bright future. You know, he has kids and, you know, all that. You got to look at it. It's not, he wasn't just a bodybuilder.
Yeah, he had such a personality, too. I mean, he was a funny guy, he had a sense of humor. You would have never known talking to him.
Exactly. And even when I talked to Ben, you know, and Ben was like, you know what, man, like, Shawn, like, this is way beyond bodybuilding. You know, it's like, you know, he's been battling these way, way, way before he ever set foot in the gym. And then he kind of put things in perspective and go, okay, you know, before this get out of hand and people start saying, oh, there goes another bodybuilder and this and that. It was refreshing in a way to hear him say, hey, this is about bodybuilding, Shawn. This goes way beyond bodybuilding. But at the same time, it was sad because I'm like, man, like, he has kids. And I know, you know, just having my 4-year-old daughter, like, that always crossed my mind every single day. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like this is what I'm living for, you know, and, you know, it really breaks my heart. But
one of the things I was thinking about is maybe with the quarantine, he might not have been able to see his kids, and that could have been something that contributed to him feeling the way he felt. It could have been something like that.
Me and Guy had the same conversation to her, and even my girl. We're like, you know, people don't understand, like with everything that's going on, like the mental. That's why when I hear people like talking about gym is like on stage 2 and stage 3, and I'm like, you don't understand like what a gym does to a person, not just building the immune system, but you know, it's therapy for a lot of people. And you take that environment away from them. You take that 1 hour, that hour and a half that they spent in going to the gym and just releasing whatever stress that they have. You take it away from them, and it's like so much bottled up in you that you don't know what to do. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, just hearing like, oh, the hair salon and the nail salon is going to open up before a gym. And I'm like, what? My nails need to look good and my roots need to be done for my, you know, my mental health and everything else, building my immune system. I was like, how is that? Like, who comes up with these?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you say, hey, listen, maybe they knew more than I know. Maybe they know more than the people that's involved in fitness and understand, like, you know, what it does for them overall.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, you know what? I'm not the only one that's in this situation. Thankful that I have an opportunity to go to the gym a couple of days a week, have a treadmill in my house, and I'm just going to play the waiting game like everybody else and be prepared for when the time does come to walk out the door and say, hey, you know, all those days that I took for granted when I'm like just so tired to take the day off from the gym, I want to make up all those days. You know, I'm never going to be too tired again to say, you know, fuck it, Shawn, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to get this workout in. You know, it's not going to be like, I'm tired, I'm going to rest. You know, I'm going to make up for all those last days and, you know, the stuff that I could have, should have, and would have done if I had the opportunity to go to the gym. You know, I'm going to take advantage of those because you just never know. Like in a situation like this, nobody's thought, you know, someone would have taken the gym away from them. It seems so minute, but you know, it's like when it happened, you're like, you know, their companies just losing their business. You know, small business, large business, mom and pop's gym that basically either you start over from scratch or what? Like what are you going to do?
Yeah, the gym that I go to, it's a super small gym and it's right next to a Planet Fitness, so they're going to be struggling when they reopen if they ever do. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of small gyms that are probably about to go out of business.
Now you look at Gold's Gym, it's filed for bankruptcy. They're closing like 30 gyms, and I'm like thinking, and that's a major company. So what do you expect the guy that just, you know, have like, you know, a 2,000 square foot, you know, studio that he's basically banking and everybody coming back, and you're like, well, you know, I haven't worked for 3 months. You know, I don't think the gym is going to be top priority anymore for me to come to the gym. And it's like, he's a guy that's going to be losing a lot of money, and the gym's just, you know, charging $10 an hour. They're just going, we're just waiting for all your folks to come back for your $10. You know, they're going to be okay, you know, so, but, you know, at the end of the day, I'm thankful. I feel blessed. And I appreciate you hopping on here, man. I really do appreciate that, you know.
For sure. I appreciate you having me on, man.
No problem. As I said, I'm always like tuning into, you know, to see what's Nick doing today. Let's see what he's talking about. You know,
Likewise.
You know, I just, you know, for me, I'm not a big Generation 9 fan. I can't even believe I'm even putting the name in my mouth, but I go to your channel to see what's going on over anything else, because I'm like, you guys, the stuff that you guys talk about sometimes makes no sense, and it's you guys are doing their shit for just shits and giggles and likes. You know, it's you guys are not actually talking about, you guys see support the fans and the athletes, which sometimes you guys don't really support the athletes. You guys really don't care what you post about. It's like you just throw stuff up there for people to just say, oh my God, I posted first. I'm like, hey, you posted first, but it's crap, dude. Like, you know,
what they did to Lee Priest, man, I think that opened a lot of people's eyes.
It just, I have my own things for Generation Iron, and you know, I told myself,
everybody that I've talked to
never
has a little issue with them.
I will never ever do an interview or do anything that to do with Generation Iron. This goes back years. You know, they know that, and I have friends that work there. I have a friend of mine just reached out to me last week and said, hey, bro, and I'm like, dude, you know better. I'm never. It's like, we're friends. You know, we're really good friends. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's like, we're from the same island, but I'm going to tell you this. I will never, ever, come on here and do an interview with you guys. I was like, you know, there's just nothing that you guys can tell me or convince me or pay me for me to do that. But I appreciate the work that you do and the stuff that you do. And, you know, hopefully there are other people that out there that's, you know, continue to tune in and watch what you're doing. And
one last question. Do you think Kai is going to come back and compete?
All right, I had this conversation with my girl earlier today. On a serious note, I had this conversation and I said, the last time Kai competed at Olympia was 2014.
He competed 16.
No, 16.
Was it the 16, Arnold?
Okay, no, at the Olympia.
Oh, okay.
The Olympia was 2014.
Okay.
2006, and this was the conversation. I'm like, so he hasn't been at the Olympia in 6 years. The last time he competed at the Arnold in 2016, he beat Cedric by 1 point.
Yeah.
So in my head, if I'm a betting man, this is how I look at it. Crap, I've been at the Olympia since 2014. I did the Arnold in 2016. I lost to Cedric by 1 point. Cedric hasn't been in the top 5 at the Olympia.
That's a good point.
Like, these guys are going to kill me. Even though you're Kai Greene, but you have to kind of put things in perspective and say, okay, like the last time out, like it wasn't my Kai Greene moment. You know, like, you know, I beat Cedric in the posing round. And I love Kai. I've known Kai since we competed at, you know, together at Team Universe. But in my head, that's how I would go through it. Like, what do I have to gain being Kai Greene to compete at the Olympia? Yes, it'll be great for the fans. It'll be great for the sport. But, you know, Kai Greene left as the people's champion and will always be the people's champion for the battle between him and Phil. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. Like, okay, you know, Kai comes back, like, you know, and lose at the Olympia, and it's not to a Phil Heath. Like how like.
Do you think Phil will come back?
That's to be seen. You know, I did this live with Dennis James, and I was like, in my perfect world, man, it would be perfect to be at the Olympia and looked over and see Kai, Phil, and Dennis Wolf.
Yeah.
Because you know, for me, that was the new guy coming in, and those were the guys. You know, Kai, Phil, Dennis, and Dexter. You know, that was like the group that I was just like, holy shit, like, you know, placing the 11th the year before and then jumping to 3rd. I remember saying, you know, to this day, when they say, you know, the first 3 names and they say Shawn Rhoden, I remember standing there looking around like what? Like, did you just call me the first call out? Like shocked, because I never saw that coming. You know, as much as I'm realistic.
Yeah.
You know, so the second time at the Olympia for me was when Chris Aceto told me when I started, like, he'll be in the top 3. I laughed. I'm like, what top 3? You know, I was like, this top 3? And he goes, yeah, you'll be top 3 this year. And I'm like, I don't see it. You know, because I'm like, you know, there's Jay Cutler, there's Phil, there's Dexter, you know, there's Kai, there's Dennis, there's Victor, there's Branch. I'm going down the list in my head, and I'm like thinking, are you sure this year? And he goes, yeah, you'll be top 3. You know, but I was just being realistic, knowing and watch those guys, you know, the year before and being at the Olympia when, you know, when Dexter won, and being at the Olympia when, you know, Jay came back, you know, and seeing how that lineup when Jay came back and it was between Dexter, you know, Jay and Branch. And, you know, here I am at the Olympia now, and I'm like, man, these guys are crazy. Like, okay, like, I know I made some improvement, but I didn't, in my head, it was still, those guys were like the big guys, you know. So in my perfect head, oh yeah, it would be great to see, you know, those guys on stage. And it'd be great to have, you know, Kai back at the Olympia. Don't get me wrong. You know, Kai is Kai Greene. It's always going to be Kai Greene. And he bring a certain element to any show that he competes in, that he's always going to be dangerous. You know, you can't go and go, well, Kai hasn't competed in 6 years, so I'm not worrying about him. Yeah. You think Kai's always in shape, so he's always a lot closer to getting Olympia shape than anyone. And his work habits, you got to think like, I know how he works. You know, I know how he trains. So if he's going to be training for the Olympia, he's going to bring it. so you can't sleep on it. But in my head, I would say to myself, like, Kai really doesn't have anything to prove to anyone.
Yeah.
And him coming back, I would sit and really think about, I mean, there's this guy and that guy, and I know it sounds cliche, but you have to think like the numbers. Like, you have to play the numbers game. Like,
but if you were Kai and you were watching the 2019 Miss Olympia, wouldn't you be thinking to yourself, man, I could do
hell
that?
yeah, I'd be like, fuck, I'm doing next year. Nothing against those guys, but I would have been like, man, you know what? I'm doing it next year, because it's the competitiveness in you.
Yeah.
You watch that, listen, anybody that watches the Olympia, if you're not motivated as a competitor, you shouldn't be doing this sport. Anybody that watches the Arnold or competes in the Arnold, if you're not motivated to say, man, I want to win this, you should not be competing. Like, my mentality the first time I went to the Olympia was, fuck, I'm doing the Olympia. But after being at the Olympia and standing backstage and looking at all those guys, I mean, the first thing in my mind was like, I need to be up with those guys. I want to be in that group, And when you get in that group, it's like, I want to win this.
What year was that at the Arnold Classic where it was you and Dennis in the top two?
It's 2014. I will never forget that.
That was one of your best years. That was like one of my favorite top twos ever. That was one of my favorite Arnolds.
Listen, you know what? That one like sting because, I mean, I love Dennis, but he's big. But I'm just like, I knew, like, after prejudging, you could not tell me that I didn't beat Dennis. And
like I remember when you really came into your own, because it was you were so close to beating him, and everyone was like, Shawn, he should have beat Dennis.
And I remember being in the bus, driving over to Memorial, and I remember just seeing Dennis doing this, like just sitting in the bus, like, and I was just like, I'm looking at him, I'm like, just look at me, I want you to look at me, and the entire time he was just like. But when he won, I congratulated him, and I was expecting him to go to Australia the following week, and he was like, "You know what, man? This was too close. It was too close for comfort, and no, I'm not gonna go." But I looked at Chris. I was like, I want him to come to Australia now. I want that rematch.
Yep.
The following week in Australia. Let's do this one more time. So even when I won the Australian Grand Prix, it was. I wish Dennis was there. Even if he'd have beaten me, I would have been okay. But I wanted just one more time for me and him to just mix it up. And I told Dennis this all the time, I've always enjoyed competing against him. Because I feel as if there was, with Phil and Kai, there wasn't really a rivalry because Phil was always winning.
Yeah.
It can't be a rivalry when one guy just keep winning. With me and Dennis, it was like, I would place higher than Dennis in some shows, then he'll come back and place higher than me. And I feel as if it was always very competitive, two different body structure, but we're always very competitive against each other. And I like that. And we always say that, like, we always go, we have a rivalry. You win a show, I win a show, you place ahead of me, I place ahead of you.
That's why it was such a good matchup, and that year was such a good year, because I remember sitting in the audience and people were going crazy when you two were posing down because it was so close.
Yeah.
It was a great fight.
That was a fun time for me. That was a really fun time for me. And, I was a little bit sad when, Dennis wasn't able to be, the Wolf anymore, because the funny thing is I knew Dennis before he was a pro. Yeah. We guest posed at a show in Philly, and I was as amateurs, and I was the featured guest poser.
Wow.
Yeah, we were guest posed at a show in Philly, and I was the featured guest poser. They brought him over from Germany. And I remember we went out to eat afterwards, and I quit bodybuilding after my dad passed away, and I didn't see Dennis again until like the Lehigh Valley. And I was like, I went with a friend of mine, and I was like, Dennis? And he's laughing because now he's like twice the size he was. And I'm like, I remember saying, I was like, what happened? And he looked at me and he goes, I joined a different gym. And I'm dying. I'm like, what? She just started laughing because, yeah, Sean, I joined a different gym, and but like that younger Dennis Wolf, when he, back then I think he was massive. Like I remember him
Oh,
standing next to Ronnie Coleman, and he was just a freak up there, like just massive all around. Where you'd have looked at him like, this guy could win the Olympia.
back when he was signed to like BSN, and he was in
Yeah,
all the ads, dude.
he was the Wolf back then. It was. That was like the big bad wolf, it was ginormous, so I wish in my perfect world that, he would come out and say, I'm going to do it one more time, and Kai would come out and Phil would come out, and Dexter's going to be like, hey, this is my last year, but I'm going to give it all I got because I still don't believe he's going to retire. And, but fun times. I'm looking forward to, December. And appreciate it, man. I'm going to have me some My Cookies.
For sure, man. I appreciate you.
And we'll catch up, man. As I said, I will definitely give you a call after all is said and done, and we're gonna do a one-on-one.
Make sure you save this live. I need some clips from this for a video, bro.
You know what I noticed, man? Like now, like whenever I try to do a story, you can only save it to IGTV.
I don't know.
The last couple of lives that I did, like I'm trying to save it, and it only allow you to save it to IGTV or delete.
That's weird. We'll try.
But I'm gonna save this. I'm straight up gonna save this. Like I'm gonna save this, and actually I'm gonna post up on IGTV so whoever could see it and whoever want to be pissed at me later on. I can't believe that you said that. Hey, this, like whatever. At this point, my new mentality is like I just don't give a shit, guys. Like listen, like we're gonna be on stage at some point, and I'm gonna be ready for whatever it is.
People need some entertainment in the meantime.
I got plenty of that coming. A few people might not like me afterward, but I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to tell it like it is. And we're going to get out there and mix it up. But I'm going to save this, brother, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, bro. Take it easy.
You too.
See you.
So, you never know. Well, folks, for all you guys that were listening, that was Nick. He is awesome, dude. Go check out his YouTube channel for the latest. So we have Flexitron Oliver signing out. Are you my cousin? Anyway, folks, it's been real. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Until next time, keep it real. Before I go, this is what's going down. Look at that. So if you guys don't hear from me tomorrow, I'm somewhat in a sugar coma. Call my cookie dealer and ask for Juan Morel and tell him that Shawn is in a carb sugar coma. I'm going to leave you guys on that note. Good night. So, and now.